last lecture.
Just what's the code stand for again?
Yes. Commercial off the shelf that's it system
Is
or components.
is the apps that we find in our phone, is it considered as product lines or
Which
codes?
one?
The apps that we find in our phone, like
The apps, it's products.
products.
Yeah. But there are some services as well. For example, GPS is a service. Or you have news service, weather information as a service. So we have apps, some of them provide service. Because service is always an app or software. But it is designed to provide services. To have a generic model or a specific model for some services.
What do you mean? Isn't all apps have services?
Yeah, but some are general, some are customized, and that are available over the internet. We call them web services. Over the web, web-based services. So our mobile is connected to the internet, so we call it as web services. But if you have computer and you are using LAN environment, so that's for local application, not for the anybody can use, only for specific client. So we have paid services and we have free service. All software, all application software is provide services to the end user. You are right in that sense. But if it is free, then it's over the web and you connect to the internet. Like for example, FM service, it's not for any client. Weather is not for any client. It's generic.
So, how can someone like publish a free app or free service and he didn't get any money for it? Or
How can?
like in our phone there are free apps.
There are free apps
Yeah. How can he get money from it, or he?
from the advertisements, ads.
But like if it's
You feel, but if you go like every second, like Google. The Google has every second so many search and so many advertisements are there. So it's billions at the end. Like they have 2 billion users for their search or their cloud services, email services. It's billion. Android users 2 billion to 3 billion. So for each application or product or service, they have advertisements every second all over the world. So automatically the revenue is coming and Google is becoming rich and rich. Same Amazon, same Facebook. They are becoming every second. Any other question? So we covered all application framework, product line, parts, ERP system, legacy wrappers. Now, service-oriented system, we just talk about the services. So such systems are designed to provide generic services for the clients. For example, storage, Dropbox is an example, or Google Drive, Google Workplace, Amazon Web Services, cloud services from, for example, Microsoft or HP. Microsoft has Azure. platform. It's an infrastructure to provide services. We have AWS,
Oh yeah, I know that.
Amazon Web Services. So there are so many examples. Email is another example. Google search toolbar is another example.
Just the service-oriented systems is like the aspect. Is it extension of object or not?
No, it's regardless of this one. They are designed based on objects. As I told you in the previous lecture, AOP is not getting popularity. Only few applications you will find that are designed based on aspect. Still we are using object. So they are designed based on object-oriented models. So each object has a service, or each component, if we say component instead of object, that's better. Component as a service. So service-oriented systems are there, which are designed to provide services, generic or customized if you want to have paid. So paid services are there for specific clients. Program libraries. What is program library?
Like the libraries we use in the Java.
Yeah, the packages. In Java, we call them packages like java.awt.static import, awt.event, java.io.static, applets, frame. In .NET or in Microsoft, we call them library. What is inside these libraries?
Shells.
Application programming interface. In C++, we have STL. What is STL?
Like structured.
Standard template library. So each tool has a library of components. In C also we have library. Model-driven engineering. What is model-driven engineering? What is a model? How to define a model? Model is a simulation or representation of some real world fact, event or situation. Simulation or representation of some real world fact, event or situation. For example, before you construct a building like Burj Khalifa or Twin Tower or Eiffel Tower, you design a model. You design architecture, you design a model. It can be wooden model, plastic model, or before you manufacture a car, you model it. Like Honda, Toyota, GMC. Before these companies introduce their new models in the market for like 2021 or 2022, so they model it first. In network, we have Cisco Packet Tracer, we have OpNet, we have Omnet to simulate the actual network. So simulation or representation. Car racing video game is a simulation of actual car race. Or you have fighting games. I don't want to say the name of those rubbish games when you are killing the enemies or your partner, the pair you are playing with, or or the internet you can play. And so you are killing. So what is the killing? It is taken from a war. Or there are some games to how to win a Troy castle. So there is enemy inside the castle and you have to break the walls, or you have to climb the walls, open the gate, like the real wars. So model driven engineering is there.
The simulator object is the engineer who built the simulator.
Of course, after engineer build, but we are saying what is model driven engineering?
Yeah, I mean, but the engineer take information
From the real world, that we know. We already just defined. I'm saying what is model driven engineering? You have UML. What is UML?
this case.
Unified Modeling Language. UML. So you model the system in terms of use case, class, sequence, state, activity, component, deployment, package. And then you design the system or you generate code from a re-engineering tool like Rational Rose or Star Journal. So that's model driven engineering. You design a model using a modeling language and then you may generate automatically, auto-generate code. That's called model driven engineering or model driven software engineering. First you design the model and then you engineer according to the model. And you show static aspects and dynamic aspects. Then you have program generator. What is program generator? How many generations of programming languages we have?
Is it now 3?
Hmm?
Is it now 3?
3? How many generations are there? Like hardware generations, we have soft programming language generations. We have 5 generations. First generation, machine language. It is not 0, 1. It was sequence of numbers at the beginning when programming started. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, first input, 6, 7, 8, 9, second input, and then something 7, 8, 9, 10, sum or store. So we have sequence of numbers to write the commands at the very beginning. It was very complicated and you have to put the sequence in front of you. You cannot memorize it. That is the reason we have IP addressing. Because you cannot remember the IP address 64.4.10.7.27.0.1 and so on. How many IP addresses you will remember? But the domain name, Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail, easy to remember. So second generation was introduced. It was assembly language. Any command of assembly language? Have you programmed?
A little bit. It's like load. Store.
Yes. Load. Now instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, load first number like 3. Add 5. Store. So I'm just giving the sequence. Load first number, add second number, store sum. That is the assembly language. Now you have keywords instead of sequence numbers. Still difficult to program because you have to remember, skip, jump, go to specific commands. Then third generation was introduced high level language. High level language. What is high level?
Convert assembly language to binary.
So make a language that human can understand.
High level language allows you to write daily life English statements. For example, sum is equal to num1 plus num2. It's common mathematics. You can write. So all high level languages like C, C++, Java, .NET, they all are high level. Then fourth generation. This is third generation. Fourth generation. Was introduced. Fourth generation we have auto code generators. Auto code generators plus SQL, PLSQL. Was introduced. Frameworks, IDE environments, auto code, it can generate code by itself. Raster rows, star UML. It can Flash, Silverlight.
What do you mean by generate code by itself?
You have the model, you generate the code.
It isn't.
Or you design the interface, code is automatically written. Like front page was there, Dreamweaver.
Then why is SQL considered as a fourth generation?
SQL is for database because in SQL you also have for the database QBE. What is QBE? Query by example. You have the GUI, tick, 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 tick. You have the command, you click that automatically. You don't need to write the commands. So SQL language, you write the query, automatically you can retrieve the data from database to the front end. The specific queries are there. SQL language was introduced as fourth generation. It has no link with auto code generator. It is separate. So you may say, I am saying comma. It's not plus to comma. Separate. It's for database. SQL was introduced as fourth generation. Where before that we have file-based systems. We don't have databases. We have, but we are not using it. We don't have relational databases. We have hierarchical database, network database. We don't have relational database, which is widely accepted and used the relation learning.
And what is the PLSQL?
Programming language for SQL. PL, programming language for SQL. So SQL statements are there, programming language is there for SQL.
So it's like I program a new.
Yeah, you can write commands, programs for the SQL. PL statements are there. Here you have the queries only. So this is fourth generation. Then you have fifth generation. AI languages. Artificial intelligence programming language are introduced to use logic, to write programs using logic, logical programming. So you can develop expert systems, neural networks like Prolog, Lisp, programming in logic, and Lisp processing. So program generators are auto code generators, frameworks,
So like the star UML.
Star UML also there, raster rows. I just gave example of Star UML raster row. So I covered the whole reuse landscape. Any question from any part of this? Any question? So I'm asking to within as well. This is end of this chapter. Just so MVC, web frameworks, cars, ERP, okay. This is the service. We have application and we have services. We talked about the service at the beginning of lecture. Our next chapter is distributed software engineering. What is the meaning of distributed systems?
They are not all in one place or in one device.
Computers that are working with the one with big virus.
A collection of independent computers connected in such a way that it appears to the user as a single system.
Like the ERP.
ERP is a different concept. Collection of independent systems interconnected in such a way that it appears to the user as one system. You develop ERP system based on distributed software engineering. Can, but it's all systems are not ERP. Masalan, any example application? Google, Hotmail, Yahoo, Amazon, banking application like Samba, SNB. They have multiple servers, front end, business logic, database, independent. Google, you search in the Google, it comes from different servers, independent systems, and it displays you as a single page.
So
So you feel it is coming from one system. You don't feel it comes from 20 because 20 links are there on each page. It comes maybe from 20 different machines, different servers.
So it's distributed not for the customer, it's for the program.
Yeah, for the user, it's a single system. A collection of independent computers that appear to the user as a single coherent system. Its user will feel as one system, abstracted for the user. It is abstracted for the user. Like a car driver, like a programmer, or like we are using projector. How many components are there, for how it is working, it is not our problem. So as a web user, as an internet user, it's not my problem how the data or how the application is working, from where it comes, how many servers are there at the back end. When I use Hotmail or you use Hotmail, you know from how many servers they have. It's not your problem. Or you go to the Samba machine. Is it your problem where the server is located? Where is database? Where is business logic? We use Amazon, we don't know where is the actual server, where is the business logic, where is the model, where is the view, where is the controller server. It loads on a client application, alas. After that, it's not the problem of the client. It must be accessible, usable, that's it. Or you use web services, you go to some area. As you move from one area to another area, another vendor services are started, you don't feel. Because different location, different countries, different services are there, different vendors are there. Languages change, advertisements change. So it's all abstracted from the client, he doesn't know. Based on your location, it will show you. Like I was at home in Pakistan. So Google was sending me message, you are away from home, because Google thinks this is my home. Because whole year I am here, I just go for 1 week or 2 weeks. So Google is telling me you are away from home from 2 weeks and you have a flight on this date to go back to your home. Or I was at home, it was semester break, Google was sending me message, it's time to go office, why you are here? I normally leave around 7 a.m. for the 8 a.m. lecture. It is sending me message, you are at home, time to go office. And I am sitting in office working like late. It is telling me, time to go home. Why you are sitting here? It's not normal. It is a service. Or you search on the GPS, which road, like I want to go King Abdul University, it automatically guides you which roads are going to King Abdul University, by Tahliya, by Palestine, by Medina, XYZ. Or I want to go Ministry of Foreign Affairs office to attest something. It will tell me, you go by Shafia, you can go by Palestine. This route has less traffic, this route has more traffic. It will take 20 minutes, it will take 40 minutes. So these are the services. And as you move your location, like sometimes GPS is telling you this route is take right, take left, mistakenly instead of right, you take left, you take straight, then it will reset. And another map will tell you now you take turn from here to reach there. It's a service. Based on your current location, where you are, and then it will provide you the service. So distributed software engineering, information processing is distributed over several computers rather than single machine. Like client-server architecture is based on distributed software engineering. We cover master-slave, peer-to-peer, single tier, 2 tier, 3 tier, multiple tier, n tier. It's for ERP. It's designed on the top of distributed systems.
So,
Yeah.
isn't like now most of the of the apps are now distributed, or
Yeah. Because of the internet, because of the mobile, because of the web use. There is no concept of standalone application at all.
What's the difference between distributed and routing?
And
Routing.
and
Routing.
again,
Routing.
wrapping,
Routing.
wrapper.
Rapper.
Wrapper is an API between the one system to another system, so you can communicate. You missed that lecture when I covered the adapter pattern and the decorator pattern. You were not there. And in the last lecture, I again covered the wrapper system, the adapter, decorator. So we have legacy systems and we have the new systems. One application, .NET, other Java. How you will communicate through the wrapper? Because vendors are different, protocols are different, specifications are different. Samba have WADA under Samba, Bank of Riyadh, Saudi National Bank, and so on. So there is wrapper in between. Or you use services, we have wrappers. So you can communicate from one to another. Like your language is Arabic, it will send you message translate into Arabic. Then another user is in English, another is in Chinese, Malaysian, German. So according to that, the services are changed. According to the type of user, languages are changed. Restaurants like, dislike. So we need wrappers in between to communicate, translators in between, so they can have data exchange, data sharing, import data, export data. These are the characteristics of distributed system. First of all is the resource sharing. We share hardware, we share software resources. Openness. Any vendor can develop application and it should be accessible for the distributed system. So it's open. It's not vendor dependent, it's not platform dependent. You can develop using .NET, Java, PHP, legacy system. It's open. Concurrency, multitasking. Like one view, one model, multiple views. One model, multiple views. So multitasking, multiprocessing is there. Scalable. According to the number of users, it's a scalable. You can add new servers, like for the front end, for the business logic, for the database, or Hotmail, Google, Yahoo, Gmail, Amazon, eBay, AliExpress, based on the number of users, they keep on adding more servers. Amazon also doing the same, eBay is also doing the same, AliExpress, Carrefour, Panda, HyperPanda, based on the number of users. Fault tolerance.
isn't also depends on if they want to add a new service?
Just for fun, they will not add. They will add based on the need base. That is costly. To increase the efficiency and performance of their network, of their servers. So users will not feel hesitant like it is taking time to load. Efficiency of applications should not be compromised. Quality of service should not be compromised. To improve the quality of service, they will add server. Because otherwise, it will become heavy, more. If server doesn't able to respond so many requests, because server responds to the requests of the clients. So if it has a capacity, how many users it can support. If it's reaching to the maximum limit, it will become slow. Then you need another server. So they are doing the load balancing, load management, and then based on that they increase the service. fault tolerance. So there is any errors, any faults that can crash the system. We have fatal and non-fatal. So it's fatal that cause the system. So faults are there. The ability to fix those faults during the operation. We talk about recoverability. We talk about survivability. So exception, error tolerance, exception tolerance is there. Fault tolerance is there. So these all are issues of distributed systems, openness, transparency, scalability, security, quality of service, as I just said, it's an issue. Failure management, how to fix the failures, how to detect them, how to fix them. Transparency, it should be transparent for the user. It's abstracted for him. He should not feel how it is working, how many servers are there. It is coming from European server, or American server, or Australian server, or Middle East server. It should be transparent. And it should appear to user as a single system. It should not be feel that there are distributed systems.
This one, I don't think a lot of people care about this, because a lot of apps or games, you can see like they are Middle East server, there are like Belgium server.
Yes, they can, but when you design a service or you design a distributed system, you care that it should be transparent for the user. It should be abstracted for the user. Like a framework, we have open source, we have closed source. Like .NET or Microsoft, you have operating systems, open source, closed source. Windows is a closed source. Linux, Unix are free. You have Microsoft repository for software configuration management, Visual Source Safe. You have open source. So open source has its own pros and cons, closed source has its own pros and cons. So for the user, if it is not transparent, it's not your problem. There are apps which are cracking and showing them. But from the vendor, it's abstract. Because you don't want to show the complexity details to the user. And it's not his requirement to understand how it is working. Like while driving a car, when you purchase a car, do you care it's a 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder or 8-cylinder? How the engine is working, how the gearbox is working, how the piston is working, clutch, lever. You take care about the services of the car. How much is the, when you sell, the market value. If you want to sell, what will be the market value? And parts are easily accessible, easily available, and they are cheap. So maintenance of the car should not be expensive. Like I remember one of my colleagues, now he left to USA, Dr. Mazam, maybe you know him or not. He has OD, and OD battery was 12,000 riyal. I have Prado, its battery is 2,000 or less than 2,000 or something. I didn't remember. 500 or 1,000 something, 1,200. So 500, 700, 1,000 or to 12,000. Because OD is very expensive. And when you want to resell, you want to sell it, the resale value is very low. Because parts are very expensive, maintenance is very expensive. Because it's your what is called hobby, or your crush, you like it, you love it, to use having the Audi or Ferrari, to purchase Ferrari and to maintain Ferrari, to use Ferrari are two different things. So it's just for the user, it's not his problem that how this framework is working, how this operating system is working, you must know how to use it. So as a distributed system environment, we take care that user should not feel that how complex it is working, just to hide the complexity details from the user, because it's none of his problem. It's not his problem how the distributed system is working. So you keep it transparent. Openness, scalability, security is another problem, because as you are over the internet, security is cracking. People are trying to crack, hack. How can we have the security to implement over the system to protect it from the hackers? So we have application integrity. What is application integrity? How the application or software can protect itself from unauthorized access. And we have attacks. How many type of attacks we have?
DDoS.
We have direct, active, passive. Direct. Hacker attacks the system as an administrator, network administrator, a system administrator. So he steals the username, password are network administrator, a system administrator. So then he can delete the accounts of the users. He can delete all data, copy all data. So he can play as he likes, because he is the boss of the network. Then you have active and passive. It's like active smoking and passive smoking. Passive is like taping, copy. Like over the, especially we have analog lines, we have digital lines. In the analog lines it was very easy. Even in the rain, lines are connected and you pick up the cradle of the phone, you can hear somebody is talking. Digital now it's less. So you can just listen. Or telephone operator, receptionist is there. If you are calling to someone in office, receptionist can listen all the conversation. Or now some software are there. Like my son is in Pakistan, I install a software. So I can listen what he's talking to others, or someone is talking to him. So that software is also guiding me where he is traveling, moving around, location, routes, or someone is talking to him, I can listen the whole conversation. It's copy. Passive. Active, you can change the information. Like I want to withdraw money, 5,000 Riyal over the internet, or I purchase something, instead of 5,000, it transforms to 10,000. Or steal my credit card and purchase the transaction. And I am not doing that. I am doing some other transaction. But before I do that transaction, other transaction is done. So he is changing. Or you want to send email to your agent. You have brokers to buy the shares in the stock market, like Almarai shares, Aramco, STC, Nehdi, Nestle, Unilever. You are my broker, you are my agent. I call you, I send you email, buy the shares of Almarai company or Aramco company. The hacker will change this information to some unknown or low profile company. And you think this message comes from me. But this is not from me, this is from the hacker. He changed the information. So that's active. So these are three types of categories of attacks. Based on them, we have, as you are saying, DUS, we have virus, we have worm. Now, because of distributed, we have DDoS. What is DDoS? DDoS. What is DDoS? Okay. DDoS, denial of service. Hacker or attacker sends so many requests that server cannot respond. And users will receive a message, services are not available. Because server has a capacity like 1000 requests per second. Hacker is sending 2000 requests per second. 4000 till hard disk physically burn. Hard disk physically burn. Now, because we have distributed environment, distributed systems, it's DDoS, distributed denial of service. It takes time, you can see, to load. Because over the distributed environment, the number of users can increase at any time, depend upon the usage. There was a virus and worm example. It also has DDoS example. You heard about Stuxnet? Stuxnet was a virus, cyber bomb designed by some top guns, top countries to attack on nuclear power plant of Iran in 2010-11. It has all the three capabilities. Before I discuss Stuxnet, what is the difference between virus and worm?
Virus can affect and the worm cannot.
Virus always attached itself to another software. It needs another software to attach, to hide, like a spy, like an audio clip, video clip, message. Virus is inside. Worm can spread over the network by itself. It doesn't need any other software to run. Stuxnet has all the three capabilities. It was DOS, distributed, it was virus, it was worm. Normally viruses are 5 KB to 10 KB size. Stuxnet size was 500 KB. It is a city of commands. And each machine of nuclear power plant is very expensive to have atom bomb, to break the atoms of uranium and plutonium. We call them isotopes in our engineering terminology. 2000 machines are approximately damaged by Stuxnet, physically burned. Like I was talking about hard disk burn, like there was a virus, its name Shamoon. You heard about? It attacked Aramco. Around 25,000 plus machines of Aramco, their hard disks were physically burned. It was also around 2011-2012, Shamoon virus. And then Aramco has to order the supply vendors all over the world, because 25,000, 30,000 machines, hard disks were physically burned. Ordered to the supplier vendors to provide them the hard disk. One shot, so they can use those machines. Similarly, this Stuxnet, it increased the speed of the motor. We have rotors in the atomic machines. Like engine has a motor. You have 1000 revolution per minute, 2000 revolution, 3000. You can see on the dashboard. Can you see? When you drive a car, you can see the revolutions per minute, 1000, 2000. You press the accelerator, or you are going 150 plus, or 130, 40 plus, can see the needle is going 4,000, 5,000 revolutions per minute. Similarly, in this machine, we have rotors to rotate, to brake. They can rotate in frequency. Frequency is the number of cycles per second. Frequency, number of cycles per second, and it's unit in hertz, Hz. Hertz, that is the unit of frequency. It can rotate like 4,000 hertz, 5,000 hertz per second. It will increase to 10,000. And we have a controller, it's called PLC. You heard about PLC? Programmable Logic Controller. This PLC is connected to industrial plants to start the plant, shut down the plant, increase the speed, increase the temperature, pressure, and all that. And Siemens is one of the top companies of PLC supplier. And their PLC name is Step 7. Step 7. You connect to the computer of the plant, this PLC, and there is admin to set the temperature, start the plant, set the temperature, pressure, speed. The administrator will feel that everything is normal. Temperature is normal, pressure is normal, speed is normal, but actually it's not normal. Like movies, when the robber or the thief wants to steal some jewelry shop or diamond shop, they put the fake movie in the CCTV camera, and the people, the administrator who is sitting on the CCTV controller room, he can see everything is normal, but it's not normal. It was fake video. Same fake screen to the administrator of the PLC. And at the behind, it is increasing 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 till physically machine burn. And one shot, 2,000 machine burn. It affects around 100,000 computers all over the world. This Stuxnet. And it uses bugs in the operating system of Windows operating system. The bug in operating system is called, it has special name. It is called 0 day. And you can sell this 0 day in the black market, which is called the dark web or something, in a huge amount. Stuxnet use 40 days of Windows operating system. 40 days, not 1 year. We have APIs, DLL, OCX, CSZ, Dynamic Link Library. It uses Internet Explorer DLL to penetrate. It uses keyboard file DLL to penetrate. Task scheduler. Then print spooling. Print spooling, network printer, first come, first serve, it spool them, and like first send the command, his print will be printed on the network printer, then for example I send, then you send, it will queue them. So it's called print spooling. Print spooler file, 40 days. And most of the 0 days are already identified. And Microsoft used patches for them. Still it is used because it was developed by top scientists. And when it entered into a system, it checked this system is connected to some plant, this machine is connected. If it is not, it just sent the data to the owner and then kept silent, sleep mode. If it is connected to the plant, there is activity. And you can change commands on runtime also. So it was the one example, Shamoon. Second example, Trojan horse is very popular. Have you watched the movie Troy? In which we have Greeks and warriors, Romans were there. So Greek warriors hid inside a horse and Romans took inside the castle. In the night they came out of the horse and opened the gates of the castle. So the army came inside and won the castle. So this Trojan horse is taken from that concept, the Trojan movie. Actually, it's the novel written by the Greeks, Trojan movie. So same concept, virus, worm. An example of worm, Nimda has virus, Nimda has worm. Stuxnet can be virus, can be worm. Then netlog. Netlog. It generates extra network traffic. So these are attacks. So you need the security to have. Any example of security?
Like the congestion control.
We have firewall, we have cryptography, digital certificate, Windows security, operating system security, server security, antiviruses. These are all you need to provide the security issues. Quality of service, you can add more number of servers to improve the quality of service. And failure management, the exception handling, scalability, security, attacks, I just covered. Quality of service, failure management. So we have two models of interaction in the distributed system. We have procedural and we have message based. In the procedural, the caller and Kali is there. Client and the server application like Purba, like RMI or so. Caller waits for the Kali to respond. Like client waits for the server component, client component waits for the server component to respond. That is the procedural. In the message based, you send the message. Like in sequence diagram, I covered how many types of messages?
It is three.
Name,
It was the message and then the back message and the self.
simple, synchronous and asynchronous. Simple, object will perform its job and passes the control to the next object. Synchronous, the caller and Kali are synchronized. It waits for the Kali, responder, to respond. Like when you are chatting someone, you wait for the other guy, he will respond, then you will chat. It's not one way, you keep on talking. Or like I try to ask questions during the lecture and you answer, then I respond. It's not like I am not allowing you to speak. No question. Then we finish the lecture, at the end we have question session. What question session? How many things you remember at the end of the lecture? Because it's run time. As you are discussing the topic, question is coming. At the end, who cares, because other instructor is waiting, students have stood up. It's like you are in the fish market, hyperpada. So it's a wait for the responder, Kali, to respond. And the asynchronous is the caller does not wait for the respondent. Caller will perform its job, Kali will perform its job. That's called message based, asynchronous. That's asynchronous. It doesn't wait. Like you start the self button, push button to start the car. So some are synchronous, some are asynchronous. Like fuel is synchronous, battery status synchronous, door open, window open, seat belt, no problem, airbag, no problem, still car will start. Same with the plants, vehicles, all vehicles. There is no necessity to wait for a response, to perform your job, because you just call. I'm doing my job, you do your job. It doesn't need the data of the responder. That is the message-based interaction. So this is the procedural. When you have the caller and callee, the wait. Remote procedure call, RPC, in Korba, in SOAP, we also use RPC, that's the procedural. Wait, synchronous is there. The problem with the RPC, caller and callee need to be available to respond. If server component is down, then the function will not work. Like you are using Samba system and Samba server is down, you go to any machine, if server is down, you cannot use ATM. Even that machine is working, like the Riyadh machine or Al Raji machine. But because Samba server is down, so caller and callee should be available. Like I can have a lecture if students are present. I will not teach to every room. Then I don't need to come here. I can use the blackboard to sit in my office or at home. I can deliver the lecture. In the physical lecture, I need students, and you cannot take lecture until I am here. So caller and callee, both parties should be there.
Isn't it the like Samba or Google? It's distributed. If like one server down, can the other like recover? Or?
But because your account is in Samba, how can you have the transaction?
Wouldn't be like a backup or something?
Huh?
Wouldn't be like a backup or something?
Sometimes they down it intentionally. They are doing backup. They don't want to provide service at that time. Banks daily backup twice a day or thrice a day. Daily make backup, sometimes twice a day, sometimes thrice a day. Because they want all transactions, the debit and credit check. Because hackers are continuously attacking the systems. And people are trying to steal the transaction, the information, or the duplicate card, fraud cards. So they want to make sure it's immediately checked. Because as it's early checked, as you can catch the thief early. As it's late, it's difficult to catch. Any question? So message passing, I just say the caller and callee. So that's mostly the middleware is involved here. So you just provide the caller, callee, the further message, the services. The middleware I already discussed. Client server done. Architectural pattern done. Master slave, 2-tier, thin client, fat client, multi-tier client, distributed component architecture. So this is component diagram, database, integrator, report generator, display, clients are there, peer-to-peer, software as a service. We just in the reuse landscape we cover the software as a service. You design the component or the application to provide services like Google Workspace, then Google Doc is there, Google Drive is there, Dropbox is there, Amazon Web Services are there, cloud services are there. So that is software is displayed on a server and is passed through a web browser. It is not deployed on local PC. Software is owned and managed by software provider rather than the organization because it's by the vendor, by the provider. You may have free services and you may have paid services. customized services only for that client. You may pay according to the amount of use, like Gmail can be customized. It's a service, mail service. You can customize it. So we have service-oriented architecture and we have software as a service. What is service-oriented architecture? How to define? Service-oriented architecture, you develop the application by assembling the components, and each component is designed based on a business model. It contains a business model to provide services. And service-oriented architecture is the backbone to provide services to web applications. Because you design the application by keeping in mind the services over the internet, over the web. Time is up.
I have appointment.
So that's the, like, we have transaction. For example, editing a document, or we just talk about Google Drive, Dropbox, mail service, Google search engine. These all are services available. So software as a service, we need configurability. You need to configure according to the, if you want to customize for any organization. Multi-tenancy. Each user should feel that this is my copy. So that is multi-tenancy. For each user, you have customized versions. Like Amazon, customized copy for you, customized view for you. One model, multiple views as per the need of that user, that customer.
Like,
You are interested in electronics, it will show you only the electronics. I'm interested in, for example, sports, it will show me only the sports related. Or I'm interested in clothes, it will show me only related to the clothes, shoes, joggers, sports equipments, anything. Grocery for the ladies, it will show them kitchen items like microwave, fryer, washing machine, such appliance, home appliance, because they are interested for kitchen related items, house related items. Scalable, as we just covered previously in the distributed systems. So you have tenant, key, name, address for each user, his customized copy. Like in the Amazon, you have account according to the user, according to the likes and dislikes, it will display what previous orders he has. Like I purchase books from Amazon, when I open Amazon, it show me these are the latest books, these are the prices, these are the hard books, most selling books. Because I purchase only books from Amazon. So it show me only the books related offers or most selling books. Maybe I'm interested. I bought in IT books, it showed me IT related books. Not fiction, not any other, only the computer science related, software engineering related. And in software engineering related, programming related. Not network, not database.
is that stored in the cookies or?
So you have data, the previous data, what you purchased last time. From that data, they take the trend of the user, interest of the user, and then they display. Because we have previous orders. As you can see even in Carrefour, Hyper Panda, AliExpress, the previous. Based on that, they will show you these are your previous orders and these are the offers. This is the end of this chapter and end of the lecture. Any question? Thank you very much. Assalam. Done.